Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
The Wilmington area has lots for visitors to do, from the battleship to the beach. But Karen Reed decided to take a walking tour through Wilmington's history, including some of its most famous homes and mansions.
The sun had shone favorably on the fortunes of the family who called this Colin Beauty home. The Bellamy Mansion is as impressive today as it was when it was first built in the early 1860s.
He was making a huge statement with this. It's on a hill on a prominent street, right in the middle of the town at that time, and he was definitely showing off his wealth.
Dr. John Bellamy, a planter, businessman, and physician, owned plantations in neighboring counties, but this would be the main residence for John, his wife Eliza, and their many children.
This is the Dr. Bellamy's townhouse. This is just the townhouse, but it's huge. It's 22 rooms and 16 fireplaces and much else in the grandest style imaginable for the age.
We'll go over here now to the slave quarters.
To get a true sense of what life was like for the Bellamy family, you have to take a tour. It begins with a rare sight, an urban slave quarters. A fitting start, considering that the mansion was built almost entirely by artisans who were slaves and freed slaves.
It's unusual to find an urban slave quarters in this good condition. They're quite rare to find this kind of building. It's also untouched. We're restoring it back to the way it would have been in the 1860s when it was in use.
The slave quarters are in stark contrast to the extravagance on display inside the mansion.
As a guest to the home, you would always be brought to this room, never even across the hall. That's their own personal space.
The Bellamy family enjoyed this luxury for a short time before an epidemic of yellow fever and the Civil War forced them to leave for the relative safety of the countryside. Union troops ended up occupying the house once Wilmington fell. But the Bellamy family was able to return and lived and prospered here until 1946. Vacant for decades, the mansion was nearly consumed by fire in the 70s. Preservationists came to its rescue, and today it welcomes some 15,000 guests a year. A short walk from the Bellamy Mansion, just a couple of blocks down Market Street, translates into another trip back in time by about 100 years. The Berwyn House transports you to colonial times. If this house could speak, oh, the stories it could tell of rather auspicious beginnings.
This happened to be the Wilmington City Jail. That's where it really started. And the foundation that you see today is actually the foundation from that jail from the 1730s, 40s.
Visitors to the house can still see the exterior cells that add more intrigue to the place that then became the home of John Berwyn, a plantation owner from England who served as the treasurer of the colony of Carolina. But as prominent of a figure as Berwyn was, he was certainly not the most famous who walked through this door. During the Revolutionary War, British General Lord Cornwallis stayed here for 18 days and nights with his soldiers.
When Cornwallis brought his men into Wilmington, he took over this house knowing that we had a tunnel running from this house all the way to the Cape Fear River.
Cornwallis hoped that tunnel would fill with reinforcements. It did not, and a short time later he surrendered at Yorktown. As you walk through the Berwyn House, it's easy to imagine life as it must have been at that time. In fact, much of what you see was actually owned by the Berwyns or the Wrights, the second family to own the home.
We have the original furniture of that period and some of the families that lived in the house, which is very unusual.
And if you're in town during the holidays,
we have a 2-day colonial Christmas, and it's an amazing time to come because you can have a glass of wassail.
The elegance of the Victorian age is what is celebrated at the Latimer House, which occupies a leafy corner of the historic district a few blocks up from the waterfront. A stunning example of Italianate architecture, 3 generations of the Latimer family lived here in luxury before the house became a living museum in 1963.
They're going to see the formal parlors. They're going to cross over and see the family parlors where the family would gather and just relax informally.
With 14 rooms, nearly 10,000 square feet, it's easy to get lost in the sheer size of the home. But don't overlook the small details. Mrs. Latimer's brushes and combs are lined up, waiting for her return, and are being guarded over by her enormous sleigh bed, dating back to 1810. But comfort was certainly not top of mind when it came to their wardrobes.
We've got all the elegant Victorian things that just show how gaudy and how dressy they all were. We've got a lot of really unusual vintage clothing. One very scary wedding dress with a 22-inch waist under that corset.
Not only can you learn about the Latimer family, you may be able to find out about yours.
It's the home of the Historical Society of the Lower Cape Fear. This is our headquarters. We have our archives and library here, and people come and do genealogy research and all. 3 unique and magnificent houses. 3 distinct glimpses into a moment in time. 1 city whose proud history is preserved for now and for generations to come. In Wilmington, Karen Reed for North Carolina Weekend.
The Bellamy Mansion, the Berwyn Wright House, and the Latimer House are open year-round for tours. A combination ticket for all 3 can be purchased from any of the museum houses. Check their websites for hours and special events.
Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.